Have you watched my videos on the big screen, on a television? They look terrific. Great photography is just one of the many reasons why people subscribe to my channel.
If you pay attention to the automotive world, you're probably aware of two things. Kia does a good job of turning out handsome vehicles, and people are flocking to SUVs and crossovers at a breathtaking rate. Oh, and one more thing, there's controversy with this sedan, the K5. It used to be called Optima in the North American market, but Kia decided to give it the moniker the rest of the world knows. Throwing away decades of name recognition isn't smart, but the K5 is such a leap in design and refinement, it's a good time to realign the name globally.
Please forgive me if I slip up and call this Optima during the review. Force of habit.
And really, how beloved was the Optima name? If Accord and Camry got a switch, I'd question the product planner's sanity. If people's reaction to the K5's design is any indication, nobody will care that the Optima badge is gone. The dramatic fastback styling is a crowd pleaser.
The product planners at Kia are well aware that buyers are not snapping up sedans the way they used to. It's all about SUVs and crossovers these days. So its strategy is to make the K5 so appealing in so many different ways, sedan shoppers would be foolish not to consider it. And they would be.
What you're looking at is an EX model in gravity gray that's optioned to the hilt with a 12-speaker Bose sound system, heated and vented seats, the larger 10.25-inch touchscreen with navigation, and a great way to see the moon and stars. Most of my friends and neighbors pegged the price in the $38,000 to $40,000 range, the average number for a new vehicle these days. The actual MSRP of $32,355 floored them. K5 shares an architecture with Hyundai Sonata that helps to keep the costs down. I actually drove two K5s. There will be a higher performance GT model that gets a more powerful engine, performance tires, and tuned suspension, the whole works. It arrives towards the end of 2020, which we all hope would hurry up and get here. A little confusing, this one is a GT line model done up in wolf gray paint that has more of a ceramic finish. The front and rear fascias are different from the EX, and the cabin gets different materials and treatments here and there. This is the smaller 8-inch touchscreen interface with standard wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Not sure if you noticed the red synthetic leather seats. If not, please visit your optometrist.
Now, going forward in this piece, I'm going to be focusing on the EX model. The GT line is simply a cosmetic package. There's no difference in power or chassis tuning, and the EX model that I have has a better sound system.
Like Sonata, there's no seam here. The sheet metal reaches all the way forward. The GT will get a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that pumps out 290 horsepower. This EX and the GT line motor about with a 1.6-liter turbo 4-cylinder, offering up 180 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. K5 is a front driver, but all-wheel drive is available with this powertrain, not the 2.5-liter. Love the design and mechanical feel of the shifter that controls the 8-speed automatic. Manual shifts will be done here because... Drive modes change up throttle response and transmission mapping, but dampers are fixed, no adjusting those.
The more powerful engine won't be available until late 2020. Most drivers won't need it. This one is certainly quick enough.
Under hard throttle, it sounds a bit on the coarse side. Nothing terrible, though.
It moves off the line quite well. 0 to 60 happens in about 7.5 seconds. The throttle response, though, a little touchy for my taste.
That makes it seem more powerful off the line when you test drive. When passing on 2-lane roads, K5 has a little less gusto, but it's not a white-knuckle moment. The power is pretty typical in this class.
Handling is pretty good. Road feel is a little bit numb. Real enthusiasts will probably want to go for Honda Accord or Mazda 6, but really, this is just fine.
The sporty dynamic is definitely an improvement over the outgoing Optima, and it's crisper than sister Sonata. Albert Bierman and team did well. The best way to see if there's a big difference when it comes to your personal driving style is to test drive. Always my best advice.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the engineers at Kia for providing an 8-speed transmission, not a CVT, calibrated very nicely.
Manual shifts might be a tad slow for hard performance gymnastics if that's your thing, but in everyday driving it's a good unit. And the ride quality is tuned for the whole family. It's on the firm side of comfortable, only sharp bumps will get much attention from your backside. And it's quiet inside, more so than the last Optima I drove.
You know those automatic engine start-stop systems, the kind that bother some people? Well, K5 does not have one, which is pretty unusual.
I only had these cars for a few days, not enough to get real-world fuel economy figures. The EPA rates the front drive EX model at an average of 31 mpg.
As far as I can discern, without attempting to crash into something, which is not a good idea, the active electronic safety features in this car are really pretty good, especially the lane keep assist. It stays locked within the lane, doesn't bob around like a drunken sailor.
Kia calls its safety tech bundle DriveWise. Standard features include auto braking, rear cross traffic avoidance, lane keep assist, and automatic high beams. Adaptive cruise is optional. This EX is optioned up with navigation-assisted smart cruise that will slow down for sharp corners if it feels the car is moving too fast. That's luxury brand tech on a car under 33 grand. And remember that price when you gaze upon the cabin. It's a nice place to spend time. Switchgear feels great. Stitching is perfect. If you have to stare at this trim to figure out if it's real or simulated, does it matter? A brilliant idea unique to the K5, this lip adds a much closer door pull. Heated and vented seats are standard kit when buying the EX. The Chick-fil-A cows will appreciate that all leather K5 upholstery is synthetic, just like the bark. The Bose system is solid. Tired of music? There are ambient sounds. We in Seattle could do without this one, though.
A handy piece of tech if you're waiting at a red light and distracted while the car ahead of you takes off because the light has turned green, you get a warning that tells you, get your butt in gear and pay attention.
Tech that warns to keep the doors closed when a car is approaching from the rear is nice too. One thing missing is ambient LED trim embedded in the dash and door panels. That's something that luxury brands are pushing these days. K5 will keep you organized too. Love the deep slot for the vented charging pad. The console is deep enough to pile tons of stuff in here, not quite big enough for a standard-sized iPad. Unlike the smaller screen, going with the optional 10.25-inch touchscreen interface means having to plug your phone in to use Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That seems odd. Overall, the flow and response of the screen is fine. There are enough hard buttons to simplify operations, including a volume knob. Funny how the small things make life easy. I will say, though, it's a bit of a reach for the drivers to get to these controls, but there are steering wheel buttons.
So, what do you think about the name change? I don't really care. Really? I'm about the back seat. That's pretty much it. I'm 5'9", just like this guy. And as far as headroom goes, I have just enough, so it's a little on the tight side. Knee, leg, and foot room are all pretty generous. The cushion is high enough so that thigh support is good, and the door openings are large enough so that car seats go in and out without much problem. Door pockets are on the small side if that's your thing, but thank the car gods that Kia puts pockets on both seat backs. For now, the company is sticking with the old USB ports. No heated seats in the rear, that's too bad. Because the drive shaft tunnel isn't too large, the space is open enough for 3 people back here, though put the smaller person in the middle where headroom is even lower. Kicked open tailgates are nice, but this one, you don't even need your foot. Just stand next to the trunk for a little bit and voila. And notice, no TP. They were actually out this time. I'm sorry, I feel like I've disappointed you.
I did have to do some shopping, though. You'll see how healthy I eat. I may or may not have put the giant box of Captain Crunch in the front seat. And truth be told, they did have TP, but it was Charmin, and those bundles are smaller. Good to see a physical spare tire. I also like the remote releases, no need to walk around to the back doors. The opening that K5 has when both seats are down is not all that wide, and there's no ski pass-through, but chances are if you need that kind of utility, you'd buy a crossover like everybody else. The trunk space is generous. If there was the TP that I normally use, I'm guessing I could have stuffed 7 packs in here pretty easily. A reminder that sedans tend to be more secure than SUVs, since it's harder to see inside. As far as design goes, it's reminiscent of the outgoing Optima, as if it and the Stinger had offspring. The overall rear three-quarter view silhouette reminds me a little bit of the Lincoln MKZ, recently killed off with the Ford Fusion. The chrome spear that reaches from the greenhouse through the C-pillar wraps all the way around the back end. The blackout panel gives the illusion that this is a hatch with a big piece of glass. Heartbeat LED daytime running lights are the signature element up front, though the aggressive shark skin pattern of the grille is a close second. The tiger nose element used on Optima gives way to a tiger face on the K5, and in case you've not noticed it before, Kia often adds this jog at the top of the windshield. Standing still, K5 looks good. In motion, it has a planted, hunkered down visual. It's almost an inch lower than Optima and an inch wider and 2 inches longer. Too bad the driver can't watch it pass by. And the way sedan sales are going, it's not like the old days of seeing 100 of them on the way to work.
Okay, let's wrap this up with red light, green light.
Green light. The overall value of the K5 is tough to beat. A fully loaded model is thousands under the price of the average car. That's made more appealing by the aggressive design and a cabin you'd expect in a sedan a class higher, maybe 2. Yellow lights, wireless Android and CarPlay are not on the larger touchscreen, all-wheel drive is not available on all models, and there's a slightly coarse engine sound when the throttle is mashed. Red lights? I'm thinking, tall passengers might have headroom issues in the back. Oh, and no hybrid model has been announced. Not sure if it will get that powertrain, even though the Sonata does. Kia's approach to the K5 is commendable, and I'm kind of surprised that a car this improved didn't come with the company's new logo. With fewer sedan choices in the marketplace, it will be a lot harder to ignore this car. For shoppers that aren't jumping on the crossover bandwagon, the K5 is an optimal choice for the test drive list. A nice feature that I didn't shoot, the tap-to-signal turn signals can be adjusted or turned off. Usually you're stuck with 3 blinks. You can add more if you like. You of course know that the one and only Martin Campbell helps me by driving the car while I shoot running footage. He's also an Optima owner, a 2011 model. He's normally pretty camera shy, but I got him to tell you how he feels about his car versus the new K5. As you might imagine, he prefers the new one.
They've renamed it K5. You're an Optima owner. Does that bother you at all?
No, I actually like the K5. Shorter, sweeter.
But do you think that they're throwing away name recognition?
No, I don't think so. Actually, my wife owns the Optima.
She owns everything you have.
She wouldn't care.
Driving dynamics, handling, comfort, compared to yours, what do you think? Yours is 9 years old.
Yes, of course, the K5 is a much better car, performance-wise. The weight, it is a little heavier, and you can feel that in corners, braking and driving, but the acceleration is better. The interior materials and technologies is much better.
Anecdotally, his panoramic sunroof shattered, covered under warranty. He says it's been a great car. Apparently, 2011s had an oil consumption issue, so if you buy one used, keep an eye on that. Again, thanks to Martin and Rob Calero, who helped me out.
You made it to the very end, which is where I normally offer up a fun fact, but this time a little bit of behind-the-scenes information. I got my start years ago as a television news photographer, and the first thing that I found out was that cars are a real pain in the butt to shoot. They're reflective, it's hard to shoot inside, and the weather. We started shooting the running footage this morning, and it started raining, of course, because I live in Seattle. And another thing is all these screens and the LED lighting, it's really tough to shoot sometimes. Check this out. The heartbeat daytime running lights, watch the phase. they don't even flicker. They just have that gradual fade in and out. It's really weird, and I could not get rid of it. And I still do all my own photography and writing and editing, just sort of breaks up the day doing lots of different things. And you know, I think these reviews look pretty good. It's one of the reasons why people subscribe to this channel. Hint, hint. Come on, join the community. We have a pretty good time here. That's Driven. I'm Tom Voelk.